And in South Africa now, the Supreme Court of Appeal has finished hearing the case into whether Oscar Pistorius' murder sentence should be lengthened. Prosecutors called for the 6-year prison sentence handed to the athlete for murdering his girlfriend Viva Steenkamp to be increased to 15 years because of the brutality of the murder. Defense lawyers told the court the sentence was appropriate because of mitigating circumstances, including remorse. Pistorius killed Viva Steenkamp on Valentine's Day in 2013 by firing 4 shots through a bathroom door. And elsewhere, U.S. citizen Martha O'Donovan has been arrested in Zimbabwe for allegedly insulting President Robert Mugabe on Twitter in a move that lawyers linked to the formation of his cybersecurity ministry last month. In a tweet, the Zimbabwe Lawyers for Human Rights group said Ms. O'Donovan, the manager of Mugabe TV, an online-based satirical video outlet, is the first person to be arrested in such grounds since the ministry was formed. Zimbabwe does not have a cybercrime law, and so if O'Donovan is charged, it's likely to be under the presidential insult law. Hundreds of people have been arrested under the law over the years. And as the world awaits the conclusion of Liberia's court on Tuesday's runoff elections, the regional leaders of ECOWAS and the African Union are looking to head off a crisis after preparations for the poll was halted. The leaders met with party leaders, including the 2 main candidates.
Leaders from the regional bodies, ECOWAS and the African Union, met with candidates of Liberia's election following a Supreme Court ruling halting preparations for the presidential runoff vote between former soccer star George Weah and Vice President Joseph Boakai. Fraud allegation claims were brought forward by the Liberty Party of the 3rd place Charles Bruskin, delaying the 2nd round of voting. Boakai's ruling Unity Party is also backing the legal challenge, accusing outgoing President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, one of its own members, of interfering in the October vote by holding private meetings with election magistrates. To prevent a crisis, regional leaders like the ECOWAS chair, Foye Simbe, and Guinea's President Alpha Condé is calling for calm. Mr. Weah, who won the first round with 38.4% of the vote to Boakai's 28.8%, said his party was following the process to see what next.
We have a constitution, we are law-abiding citizens. I think we have the right. As I said, we are waiting to see the process and what will come out.
The court's ruling raises tension in the capital, where memories of a 14-year-old civil war are still fresh. The Supreme Court's decision is an example of the assertive role some African judiciaries are playing in overseeing elections, just like Kenya's Supreme Court that annulled the results of the presidential election in August.
A female lawyer in Zimbabwe has filed a legal suit at the Constitutional Court in Harare to abolish the bride price, saying it's an outdated practice that reduces women to mere commodities. She wants the court to hear her case on the grounds that the practice violates her rights as a citizen. Priscilla Vengasai believes the custom can be maintained if families of both the bride and the groom are made to pay bride price in the interest of gender equality. Ms. Vengasai, a divorcee, has indicated interest to remarry and does not want her experience in her previous marriage to be repeated. She said she was not allowed to participate in the pegging of the bride price during her first marriage rites and believes the scenario has reduced her to a mere property with a price tag. A human rights activist, Joy Chiwokwu, joins us on the program for some analysis. So good to see you, madam. Welcome to the program.
Pleasure to be here. Thank
you.
What
do you make of this move to abolish the bride price in Zimbabwe?
I would say that abolishing the bride price is not the way to go because you'll be infringing on the rights of some other people. I respect her views, freedom of expression, and I do support personally that bride price may not be that necessary, but you shouldn't abolish it because there are people who would want bride price, and by abolishing it, you'll be infringing on their own rights. So I should think that instead of abolishing bride price, you should probably amend the way it is done. I totally also agree that it's wrong to peg a price on somebody's head. There's no amount of money you can pay that will be a price to taking somebody from the family. Maybe what needs to be done is maybe a form of nomenclature change. you need to, it shouldn't be called a prize, it shouldn't be called a bride prize. You could do gifts to your ability. Any man that wants to marry somebody should give gifts to the bride to appreciate the parents, the siblings, the extended members. You may want to ask of the family, you may want to ask the question, who takes the bride price? Who does it go to? I understand when a bride price is paid, you go to as far back as many relatives as possible, cousins, nieces, uncles, grandparents, and they give them bits and pieces of it. Perhaps they should get a list of who should get something and encourage the groom and the family to give a gift within their capability, but no price should be pegged, should be put on anybody's head.
You've, of course, brought out some solutions now, but Africans are particularly known for sticking to tradition, and the bride price issue is not an exception. But what does the African tradition particularly say about the bride price?
I would say the African tradition encourages bride price, but again, I would say that culture is always evolving. It's a way of life. The way people lived in the 19th century, the 18th century is not the way we live in the 21st century. Things always change. So I would appreciate the lady that is juggling our minds to think what's next. It may not have to continue. It's a culture that needs to be modified. We shouldn't pay price. I support that we shouldn't pay price on somebody, but I don't think we should abolish it. People who think strongly that they need price to be paid on them or their children should be allowed to do so. And nobody should be compelled to take or pay price on somebody.
Now, just a quick one now. Do you see the court banning the bride price in Zimbabwe? Just a yes or a no?
No.
Why? In 30 seconds.
Because it's going to have pros and cons. People will fight against it. People will fight for it. It's going to be a long battle. That is not going to be an overnight issue.
Many thanks, human rights activist Joy Chioku, for coming to us on Network Africa.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, the World Health Organization says Madagascar is facing the worst outbreak of plague in 50 years, as more than 1 million doses of antibiotics have been sent to fight the outbreak. According to new figures, there have been more than 1,800 cases and 127 deaths since the start in August. Well, still to come on the program, the Libyan armed group holding the brother of suicide bomber Salman Abedi refuses a British request for his extradition. Do stay with us.